Hello and welcome to Business Connections, presented by the Dayton Area Chamber of Commerce. I'm Holly Allen. Today we are talking about public policy and the work the Chamber does in business advocacy. My guest today is Chris Kirschner. He's my colleague at the Dayton Area Chamber. Hi, Chris.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for being with me today.
Absolutely.
So we're going to get an update today on what you and your team is working on when it comes to business advocacy. Can you start with a little overview? Let's say that our viewers don't know anything about the Chamber and what we do in public policy. Can you tell us what your team does and why it's important?
Absolutely. So, the Dayton Area Chamber of Commerce is the voice of business. And that saying takes on a lot of different meanings. And in public policy, it means we are the advocate for business to our governmental entities, our federal government, our state government, and our local government. We know that business owners have a lot to do every day. They're working hard at their businesses, they're trying to make money, they're trying to employ people, they're trying to provide a product or a service to their consumers. They don't have the time to follow all the public policy intricacies that are happening, and that's why they become a member of the Chamber, and that's one of the services we provide to them is we monitor, lobby, and advocate for those businesses on business-friendly policy initiatives. We have 3 registered lobbyists at the Dayton Area Chamber of Commerce. We have a satellite office in Columbus that we're able to use for our public policy activities, and there's usually somebody from the Chamber that's in Columbus or Washington, D.C. every single week that's staying on top of these issues. So the role we really do play is we are a voice for the Dayton area business community to the federal, state, and local governments. When we're there, those are the issues we're working on the issues that impact the Dayton area business community.
So you're monitoring what's going on and deciding if there's, a place, if our business community needs a place at the table to be heard on those issues.
Yeah, absolutely. So, we're monitoring what's going on, but then we're also representing what our legislative committee and our board and our members have told us is important. So, this isn't Chris Kirschner's chamber. This is the Dayton Area Chamber. So we represent the businesses that are members. So those 2,400 businesses that are members of the chamber that entrust us with their dues dollars, we're representing the issues that they've told us are important and making sure we're either supporting the issues they said would be good for their economic health or trying to have a conversation about the issues they said might not be good for their economic health.
Right, absolutely, and we have those conversations.
We do.
For sure. I want to start with probably on the state level because we had some activity in the spring with the Speaker of the House. There was an investigation going on into the former Speaker, Cliff Rosenberger, and so everything kind of stopped on the state level for a little while that kind of shook out. Can you tell me where it stands now?
Absolutely. So, the spring was a good political drama. So if you like to watch the political drama, we had a little bit here in the state of Ohio in the spring, and it's still going on a little bit, but things have settled down now, and we have some stability back in the State House. So in the spring, the current Speaker of the House was under investigation from the FBI for use of campaign funds and some other things, and as far as I know, that investigation's still going on, but he resigned during that investigation, and there was a interim speaker, and there were multiple individuals vying for that speaker's spot. So during that interim, that was really the focus in Columbus, was who's going to be the Speaker of the House, because you really couldn't do a lot of things without a appointed Speaker of the House that has been appointed or elected by the members of the House of Representatives. So there was a few weeks there, about maybe even a couple months actually, where we didn't have a speaker and there where things were trying to shake out. That's all done now. We have a speaker. It's Speaker Ryan Smith from Southern Ohio. Very nice gentleman, been very friendly to the Dayton area. We hope to continue that relationship. He's in place now, and we want to continue to work with him as well as all the members of the House of Representatives as we look at moving things forward here for the rest of this year. Which will most likely happen after the November elections.
Okay.
So usually the way the State House calendar works is they take a break before the November elections. That's not a Republican thing, that's not a Democrat thing. It is a political thing. Everybody has campaigns they didn't have to run, so they usually go back to their districts to work on their campaigns during that fall period, and then after the elections are over, they come back and we'll have what's called a lame duck session because there are members that are termed out or aren't running again but are still elected for those last 2 months of the year, and that's when you'll see a lot of legislative activity occur.
Got it. Okay, so I wanted to get that out of the way so that we get kind of a lay of the land before we get into the issues that the chamber is working on, because I think there were some things you started on at the beginning of the year, and it all kind of came to a halt until we got this figured out. And so now I'm sure they'll be back at it. You said once they get the election.
Absolutely.
done.
Yep, that's exactly right.
Okay, so where do you want to start? What issues?
Wow. Well, we have a number of diversity and inclusion issues that we've been working on. So we can start right there, and then we'll talk about some other things we're working on.
Sure. Let's dive in.
As you know well, diversity and inclusion is a important pillar of the Dayton Area Chamber of Commerce and of our business community. Our business community has made it very clear that they want to have diverse workforce, they want to have diverse businesses, and they want to be inclusive of all and be representative of our community. So we have taken those instructions and looked into what are the bills and legislation out there that would support a more inclusive nature, more diversity in our business community, and really help us become a more attractive community for businesses to operate in, for businesses to relocate from out of the state, hopefully, to the Dayton area. And we identified 3 pieces of legislation that we've been working on. 2 of them are sister bills because they're right next to each other, House Bill 492 and House Bill 493. These 2 bills deal with women-owned businesses and minority-owned businesses. So House Bill 492 will create a women business certification program in the state of Ohio. Right now we have an MBE program, Minority Business Enterprise Certification Program for the state.
Yes.
We don't have a women-owned business certification process. So what that means is if you're a woman-owned business, you could get certified by the state as a woman-owned business, which then opens the door for opportunities for companies and others that are looking to contract with a women-owned business.
Okay.
That program exists for minority-owned businesses, doesn't exist for women-owned businesses.
Right, but not with the state. Now there are certifications. It's kind of factioned rather, isn't it? That you can be certified through like a municipality, but this would be a statewide certification.
That's exactly right.
Now.
Yeah, there's private organizations that will do certifications. There's municipalities that will do certifications, but this is more of an umbrella certification for the state, and it would be the hope that if somebody received a state certification, that then it would be recognized by their municipalities or by some of the private certification groups. In the end, it should make it easier for women-owned businesses to do business in the state of Ohio, and that's important to the Dayton Area Chamber of Commerce.
Yes.
We've made a very strong push to support women-owned businesses, to support women in business, to support women business executives. We launched our Empower program this year, which is a leadership program for women that are advancing in their corporate careers. We have our Executive Women's Leadership Council. We have our Minority Business Partnership, all focused on supporting women-owned businesses. This was a natural next step with supporting House Bill 492. And it's currently going through the process. It's been having committee hearings. It's looking very close to getting out of committee. But with the delay here because of the fall break before the election season, it's probably going to get held up, but we're really hoping and going to work hard to try to get it done in the lame duck session that I mentioned earlier.
Okay. So you mentioned a sister bill.
I did. House Bill 493.
493,
right.
Okay.
But also introduced by the same representative that introduced 492, Representative Ann Gonzalez from the Columbus area.
Okay.
House Bill 493 would create a reciprocal certification program with other states. And that would be both for minority-owned businesses, and if 492 passes first, it would be for women-owned businesses, to where we would recognize somebody else's business's minority or women-owned business certification in another state, and the other state would recognize our businesses' minority and women business certification programs.
Okay.
The benefit for our companies is if a woman or a minority-owned business was to be certified in the state of Ohio, but they wanted to do business in Kentucky, they wouldn't have to get recertified in Kentucky.
Right.
That Kentucky would recognize their certification from Ohio, and they wouldn't have to get recertified, allowing them to continue to broaden their business and do more business outside of our state borders.
Which is important for our area, being so close to Indiana and
Absolutely.
Kentucky. And other states already have these agreements, is that correct?
Yeah, there are. I believe Kentucky actually has this agreement on the books, but because we don't have it, there is no mutual relationship. But if we were to have that same law on the books here, there then would be a mutual relationship where they would recognize our minority and women-owned businesses, and we'd recognize their minority and women-owned businesses.
Got it.
That bill is not moving as fast as 492. It's just there's some more conversation around it, trying to figure out, what this would mean for some of the state contracting opportunities. So that's they're having a lot of conversation about that bill, and we're engaged. But I see 492 moving a lot quicker.
Okay, we do support it. And just to throw it out there that we heard when we discussed this with our volunteers, real life experience from one of our business owners here in the area that wanted to do, bid on a project in Indiana, and their certification was not recognized in Indiana. So we know it's affecting businesses.
Absolutely.
So we want to help them out.
Absolutely, we want to do all we can.
Yeah.
Then the third bill that's in that diversity and inclusion area is House Bill 160, which has to deal with sexual orientation being a protected class in the state of Ohio. The reason why we're working on this bill is because a lot of Fortune 500 companies are looking for these types of laws to be in place when they're looking at states to relocate to.
Okay.
So when they're looking around and saying, where do I want to go? They're looking for states that have these inclusive type of laws on the books. We met with our business community. We said, what do you guys think about this? Many of them came back to us and said, we're already doing this. We're already treating sexual orientation, gender identity as a protected class in our organization, even if it's not a state law. So might as well go ahead and make it a state law because we're already doing that. So when we heard that from our businesses, we said, well, if this will make us more attractive to companies wanting to relocate here and be an economic development tool for us, then we need to get on board. And our business community agreed, and we've supported it, and I've been working on it.
And we have learned lessons from other states, because we have seen states that don't have progressive laws on the books where businesses have pulled out from commitments, and we don't want that to happen here in Ohio.
Not at all,
So-
not at all. We've got a great environment here and business infrastructure, and we don't want to do anything to jeopardize that.
Absolutely, let's be proactive.
Absolutely.
Okay, so that covers our diversity and inclusion. We have a lot going on in that area.
We do.
Where do you want to go next?
Why don't we go to logistics?
Okay.
Okay, so
It's been a priority for the Chamber.
It has,
The Dayton Area Logistics Association.
Absolutely. So we launched the Dayton Area Logistics Association about, I think it's been 4 years now, about 4 years ago, and it's been great. So as the Dayton region continues to be a hub for logistics and distribution companies, we have to look at having the right legislative and business environment to support them. We did an economic impact study a couple years ago that showed that the logistics industry in the Dayton region has a $2.5 billion annual economic impact and has 20,000 direct jobs here in the Dayton region.
That's a lot of jobs.
And that was before companies like Fuyao were up and running, before Spectrum Brands was up and running. So two big logistics employers in the community that weren't even included in that study, and there's been a number of others since as well. So those numbers, I think, are the basement, and they are actually much higher than
That's
that.
good news.
Absolutely.
We've really put a lot of emphasis, I think, on just the assets we have here in the Dayton region, being at the, they call it the Crossroads of America. We're 70 and 75 cross. We have, the airport. Up by the airport, you've got a CSX freight line up there. You can get pretty much anywhere in the country very quickly from the Dayton region. So when you're looking at where to put a warehouse,
You're exactly right.
you're in a good spot.
We were identified by a national, actually a global company called St. Ange, that we were one of the very top markets for logistics and distribution companies because of our access to a global population. It's really us and one other location I don't want to mention because
don't name
we
them.
just meet people
We
in
don't need
Dayton.
to name them.
But we were in the top two, so I'm proud of that. For logistics and distribution companies, it's really the perfect storm here, and you summarized it perfectly. Rail line, Crossroads of America, international airport with a foreign trade zone, all right there in a 2-mile area. Why wouldn't you want to be here if you're a logistics company?
Absolutely.
But on the legislative side, we've got to make it attractive for them as well.
Yep.
And something we were hearing from our logistics and distribution companies was that they're making a lot of purchases of equipment that moves goods, conveyors, forklifts, those types of things. They all play a part in the logistics and distribution arena. If you're a manufacturer in the state of Ohio, you're actually making a product, you can buy the forklifts and conveyors, and they're actually exempt from sales tax because that's a benefit that the state legislature put in place to benefit manufacturers in the state of Ohio.
Right.
However, if you're just transporting those goods, not manufacturing them, if you're a trucking company like one of our members, Dayton Freight or Jet Express, and you're moving goods but not actually creating the goods, the purchase of those forklifts and conveyors are not exempt from sales tax. It's a big deal because Indiana does exempt them from sales tax. So we've lost business from those purchases in the state of Ohio because logistics and transportation companies are going right over the border to Indiana to make those purchases.
Hurting our retailers.
Hurting our retailers, hurting our jobs in this community, and making it honestly just not as easy to do business in the state of Ohio if you're a logistics person, right? I mean, Hey, I live in Springboro. I love to shop in Springboro because it's convenient, right? And I like to support my community. Well, our companies like Dayton Freight would love to shop right here in their backyard too. They want to support their community. They want to, it's easier for them. But if they can have a significant savings, they might look at going over the state border. I want to reverse that and have that business kept here in the state of Ohio.
Okay. So what are you working on to take care of that?
Absolutely.
Let's talk about the bill.
Perfect softball there, Holly. Thanks.
I know. Knocked it out of the park. Right back to you.
House Bill 641 was actually championed by the Dayton Area Logistics Association. So the Dayton Area Logistics Association Steering Committee helped write the bill. We came up with House Bill 641, which will exempt sales tax from sales tax on the purchases of forklifts and conveyors in the state of Ohio for logistics companies. This would put us on par with states like Indiana and would keep that business here in the state. Chamber member Dayton Freight specifically mentioned that they buy upwards to 90 forklifts and conveyors annually.
Wow.
About $2 million in annual sales.
That's one business.
That's one business. And they moved it to Indiana. And then what goes with that is in-servicing jobs. You know, when you get a forklift and you want to maintenance it and in-service it, those jobs used to be here, now they're in Indiana. Dayton Freight wants to bring those jobs back here. So we want to do everything we can to make this attractive, bring those jobs, bring those purchases back to Ohio, help continue to stimulate this economy and support this region.
Interesting. So where does this bill stand right now? It was introduced in the spring, is that right?
Yeah, it was introduced in the spring by Representative Niraj Antani, who's state representative from some southern communities here in Dayton.
Yeah.
That's right. And the bill had sponsor testimony. Representative Antani gave the sponsor testimony. Then it had proponent testimony. So those that are in favor of the bill spoke. I represented the Dayton Area Logistics Association and testified in favor. We also received support from the Ohio Trucking Association, who said we're on board with this. And they sent some written testimony in. So we're building a good coalition of folks, and we're expecting to see some movement on this bill, hopefully in the lame duck session.
Okay. Sounds good. Is there anything else you're working on that you wanted to mention?
There's so much that we're working on.
Well, I know that you wanted to, that's why I put in the caveat that you wanted to mention.
I'll mention one other area, which is some work we're doing for our servicemen and women here in the state of Ohio.
Okay.
So we have a bill that we introduced as well that came from our Military Affairs Committee, which is called House Bill 603. This bill will eliminate the one-year residency rule to receive in-state tuition as a serviceman or woman. Right now, if you move into the state of Ohio, you have to wait 1 year, have 1 year of residency before you can get in-state tuition benefits. And that law was put on the books so that people just didn't, move in real quick, get in-state tuition, then move out. Well, in the military, it's a little different. A lot of individuals in the military are on 2-year tours at different bases. So obviously Wright-Patterson Air Force Base here, major economic employer, and people get transferred in for 2 years, they get transferred out to another base. It's beyond their control. They're not leaving Ohio because they don't like Ohio. They're leaving Ohio because they got orders from the Department of Defense to leave Ohio, and they have to do that to serve our country. Well, they have dependents that are usually with them, and sometimes those dependents are school-age dependents. So why wouldn't we want to try to capture those dependents, that talent here in the state of Ohio on day one when those servicemen and women come to the Dayton area.
Right.
They have been serving our country for their entire lives. The least we could do is try to provide some in-state tuition benefits to them and their dependents when they come to Ohio. The long-term benefit is we're capturing that talent. So now we have those dependents that are going to one of our area colleges. They hopefully will get a job in the area afterwards, and they become residents of Ohio and maybe have families or work here for the rest of their life. That's a good thing, and we want to do everything we can to support that.
Okay, so you have a bill in the works?
We have a bill in the works, House Bill 603.
Okay.
And then the second bill that we're working on, I actually don't even remember the bill number on that one, but it's a reciprocity bill. It has to do with licensing. So folks with professional licenses, like nurses, who are licensed in another state and their spouse gets transferred here for military reasons, for a serviceman or woman, the state of Ohio would then recognize their licensure from another state. So it's a reciprocity license agreement. So if you're in the military and you get transferred here and your husband's a nurse in Texas, his license then as a nurse in Texas would be recognized by the Ohio State Nursing Board, and he wouldn't have to retest, allowing him to get a job more easily.
That makes total sense.
Absolutely. So that's what we're working on the military side. There's a lot of other things going on, but that's the best I could sum up those three areas.
Sum it up. All right. Thank you for giving us the summary. Is there anything we missed? Anything we needed to touch on?
I think you got a lot of it.
We got a lot.
It's been a busy spring and it's been a busy summer. I would say, with the new elections coming up, we'll probably have some new representatives here for the Dayton area, and we'll be hosting a legislative reception for them in November, right after the election. So all of our viewers should have to be looking out for the Dayton Area Chamber of Commerce's legislative reception this November.
Right. Okay. We try to give them a chance to get some face time with those representatives, and you can stay updated. Anytime we keep all of our public policy updates, you try to write updates for me at DaytonChamber.org, and also on our Facebook, LinkedIn. We're on YouTube. We're on Twitter. We're basically everywhere. So make sure you follow us there. Thank you so much, Chris. It's always a pleasure to get an update on the work you're doing.
Thanks for having me. It's great.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for being with us, and you can stay tuned now for a message from our President and CEO, Phil Parker.
Since our founding over 100 years ago, the Dayton Area Chamber of Commerce has been an active advocate for not only business and job growth, but also good government. Our advocacy may at times seem very broad, but in actuality it focuses on what is best for our economic interests of our communities and what changes should be made to create opportunities, transparency, and fairness in the governance of our cities, counties, state, and nation. For decades, our impact has gone beyond local governments as we have tracked statewide and national issues. Most recently, we've been a strong advocate in Ohio legislation that would positively impact women in business, our military and military families, and creating a competitive advantage for our important local logistics industry through House bills like HB 492, 603, and 641. Businesses and their employees have been able to count on our public policy oversight for over 100 years. That responsibility is one that we hold very sacred and understand clearly the accountability that goes with that task. True, we sometimes take on issues that can turn out to be quite controversial in nature, but that role is more than just our job. It's our passion.